Okay, so now we're up to stage 4 on our finishing off, and we're going to bag out the top waist edge of our waistband to our waist to our facing, on our main to our facing, and then we're going to top stitch it afterwards. Now, probably the most tricky part on this is actually noting that when it's stitched at the top, that the main sits 3 mils in from your facing at the top. So when we flick it the right way, so if we flick it the way that we're going to stitch it, which is right sides to right sides, and place them together, we need to make sure that our main is sitting in 3 mils on either side. You can use double-sided tape to hold this together if you want to, so that it all stays in one place. Makes your life easier. Let's find our end. Oh, am I imagining that? Or is it not? Oh, there it is. Okay, so on the edge there, just to hold it in place. Now, remembering that facing, which is the one on the top, needs to sit about 3 mils inside, and that one underneath is your main. We're going to stitch back tack, and we're going to stitch 1 centimetre seam allowance in back tack. I think that I've actually got too much gap between the top of my waist cut edge and where my zipper starts. It should actually be 13 mils, which means when I stitch through there, I should actually be stitching right on the top of where my zipper tape finished. But for some reason, I seem to have a little bit more excess. I've got more like 15, 17 mils, but it should only be 13. Okay, so now let's stitch that through. Let's change it back to our normal foot for a start. You'll need to leave your zipper foot out, because your last step with your zipper foot you'll be using in a minute. But this top, you'll need to have your normal foot on. If you stitch with your zipper foot, you'll find that the fabric will move around a lot. And if you're stitching over a bulky section, it will tend to run off on one side. So you'll find it much easier with your normal foot on. So let's take back our ends, place in place, sticking down. So remembering that your facing, when it folds back, should be about 3 mil gap between the edge of your facing fold and your main fold. 1 centimetre seam allowance, Simon. 1 centimetre seam allowance. Make sure you don't push that seam out, because with the fusing it will want to move around, so hold it really carefully so that it doesn't. 1 centimetre seam allowance. Okay, then you can do the same on the other side. Then what you need to do is you'll need to trim back, just like we did previously. Trim back your facing to half of that distance. When we get up to the end, what we're going to do is we're going to diagonally trim, as well as half the width of that facing. Trim it off. What you will find though, when we are folding over and coming back down into our main, see that bulkage of that seam allowance there that wants to poke itself out? What we might need to do is to trim off some of the bulk of that seam allowance, and then fold that in a little bit, or move that over a little bit, so that when it comes back onto itself, it's hidden and concealed and not seen. Okay, that's probably going to be the most tricky part of getting that correct, is by trimming back and removing some of that bulk, so that you can actually push that seam away, or diagonally push it in, because that's going to be your main coming back down, which we're going to top stitch later. Okay, so trimming back the bulk of that, Then because this waistband is on a slight curve, we're going to clip into it. Remembering our trick before, if we are going to be putting a curve onto a smaller area or a bigger area, sometimes it's helpful to clip out some of the excess like that rather than just clip straight into it. Clip out a little bit of excess, remove some of it too. Then you need to do that on both sides. So that's the first step of stage 4.